The Africonomie 2015 Summit held at the Four Points Sheraton Hotel, Lagos. At the opening session, with the focus on unraveling investable strategies and executable teams in Africa, it was an opportunity for key players in the pensions, fund management, and insurance forum to network and discuss on critical issues around the sectors. There was also an executive dialogue on building a strong and sustainable pension fund system in the country.
The entire thing begins with trying to register contributors. I mean, that's the first point. We are basically retail administrators, as it were. So you have individuals that we have to be. So we have to be everywhere at the same time. And Nigeria is a large country, so we have to be in all 36 states, as it were, at the same time. Now, there's a huge challenge in doing that because you have got to deploy a number of people, you got to deploy resources, and you got to be able to also collaborate well with that environment. That is a challenge because it requires a lot of capital.
So the perception issue comes not only for the RSA holders, they are in three parts. You have the issue of the investment committee, the custodians of the assets who have to do the investment, the ability to convince the investment committee to go into some novel asset classes becomes a problem. Because you really can't, they just don't want to, they don't want to go there. They just want to stay and remain in familiar terrain. So that's a problem on its own. That's one, ability to tell them, oh, things have changed, it's private equity now, this is the way. They just don't even want to understand it.
We are all fine, looking, smart and all those things. The day you know that there is no certainty as to your next salary, you become extremely vulnerable. And they don't want to listen. So one of the challenges I would say is that we should be able as an industry to close that gap. So that the process of benefit application, the process of maybe somebody collecting 25% is so streamlined, is so automated, right, that the money can come out and there is no gap.
Stakeholders discussed further on aligning pensions, investing with markets.
How many fund managers are looking at SMEs? And the aim is to ensure that the SMEs create jobs, make an impact in the economy, contribute to economic growth in the country. And you can imagine what the ripple effect of this will be if all these funds actually could come into Nigeria. Bearing in mind the difficulty in raising capital in Nigeria. So before we even start looking at Francophone and all that, why not let's even look at Nigeria for a second and see what that impact will be, and then gravitate towards the bigger markets.
There's this constant challenge about investing in first-time funds. First-time funds are risky. Just like anything, anytime you do anything for the first time, there's a risk that you will not succeed. So in private equity, it's a bit different. Private equity, you are backing a team, period. Because the team is a blind pool. You don't know the asset. They can show you a pipeline, but a pipeline is just as good as what it is, a pipeline. So if you have, and I used to want a bunch of guys, including girls, who set up a first-time fund. You want to know what have they done in the past. There are ways to do first-time funds. One of the ways you do first-time funds, and I think one of the ways that people set up funds, is to spin off from more established fund managers. So you've worked in PE for 10 years with a group, you guys are a group, and you can go set up a fund. So what I'll be looking at are the deals you did in the fund where you worked, the deals you did directly in the fund. So our diligence is to ensure that, at least the process of finding deals, adding value, structuring them, exiting, working with teams and management, you know how to do that. That sort of reduces the risk.
You want something to invest in. And it's getting increasingly more difficult, as everybody knows, to actually find that product. We've got a lot of capital looking for deals in this market, but the size of the transactions is relatively small, and there are only a few of those very large deals, and they're heavily competed. What you'd really want is a proper ecosystem where somebody was investing at the very early stages, then there would be a sale to another larger sort of mid-tier firm, and perhaps to ultimately a sort of international firm at the end of the day. But as I said before, you would also want a very robust capital market. So when you think about venture stage investing in other markets, what's the usual exit? Usually the exit is the capital markets. Somebody's gone into a VC fund, they've put in $5 million in some business, they do a couple of rounds of Series B, Series C type of investment round, and then they exit the public markets. We don't have that opportunity here. And I think that also is causing challenges in getting those smaller types of funds investment opportunities.
Key stakeholders speak further on the opening session and, of course, the points that were discussed at the Africonomie 2015 summit.
For us, the fundamental thing is that the structure of the CPS has worked well. It is very safe. There's separation of duty between the custodian, the operator, and the National Pension Commission. Having said that, it's critical that we continue to enlighten the public, both employees and employers, as to the importance and the benefit of having a pension. It's very critical. We got a lot of work to do. We've covered only perhaps only 10% of the working population, 6.5 million. We're a country of 170 million, so we need to do a lot of enlightenment and sensitization to get more people on board. Related to that is the issue of the informal sector, because apparently most of employees in Nigeria are in the informal sector. Legislation or guidelines are being put together by the National Pension Commission to enable us to tap into that market. We've also got the issue of compliance by those that are directly affected by the law. So you have the small enterprises of 3 or more employees. We've got the state governments, we've got the local governments. It's a task to get them on board, and we need to get them on board to continue to do this. On the investment space, we discussed today the issue of asset classes, available asset classes. For now, we are limited mostly to government securities. More than 70% of assets are in government securities. A lot of work has been done by financial intermediaries to bring out instruments in infrastructure, in private equity, and the rest. But they're yet to meet the safety requirements of pension fund. I'm sure with time, with engagement and exploration, we'll be able to have them in a manner that is safe for investment, and that's where we are.
With the demands on infrastructure and other critical sectors in West Africa, it is imperative that the Africonomie Summit will continue to provide that strategy for improving investments through the pension funds that will guarantee sustainable development.